Welcome back to the Heal and Restore podcast with your host, me, Randy, and of course, Cathy, the hostess with the mostest. So, real quick, we know we've missed the last 2 weeks, and we appreciate your patience with all of that. As you guys could tell, probably the week before, I was not feeling too well. And things took a turn to the worst right after our last podcast for myself. And we'll talk a little bit about that in this podcast, but we want to thank you for your patience and understanding. We don't like missing posting podcasts whatsoever. We know the importance of the consistency of us keeping these up to date, but
we also know life gets in the way too, and we have to honor where we are in that.
Right.
So not a problem. We're here. We're back, and thank goodness we're back. So,
and we're still dedicated to helping couples and individuals strengthen their relationships through healing, growth, honest conversation.
Yeah, that's not going to change.
That's not going to change. And we dive into topics like communication, forgiveness, intimacy, family, and emotional connection, which is going to be a big part of this one.
Mm-hmm.
Because healthy love starts with a healed heart. Tune in each week and take the next step toward restoring what matters most.
Yeah, that's good. So, Randy's kind of given us a little bit of leadway into this, but today's episode, it's one that many of you may already be walking through, or you might face it someday. And so we're talking about what happens. I'm going to try to stay straight on and not emotional here, but what happens when someone you love, maybe it's even yourself, receive a medical diagnosis that you weren't expecting. And so before we jump into this, I just want to give a little background on what happened with us. Randy was diagnosed in early to mid-January with, it's considered congestive heart failure, but it was a atrial flutter, which is
no big deal.
The cousin to atrial fibrillation, AFib, which is all treatable.
Which, in and of itself is no big deal.
Yeah. So when he was diagnosed with that, we had a game plan. We had doctor's appointments lined up. We had tests lined up. And unfortunately, we didn't quite make them to all those dates. So landed him in the hospital for 11 days and had a couple little things get sideways on him. He spent a couple days in ICU, but he's home. We've been home over a week now.
Basically, I went to the hospital because my lungs were filling up with fluid.
Right.
And that's why I say the heart condition wasn't the bad part of this hospital stay.
No, it affected he had a contrast for a CAT scan that affected his one and only kidney that he's had for 53 years. And then the kidney started failing down to 20% or below function, which caused the heart to not be able to work right. And so it was a balancing act, getting the heart pumping right so that the kidney could start rebounding. And praise God that all of that happened. And it took a little while to get that balancing act, but he's home, getting stronger every day. We've got a couple more tests lined up and a doctor's visit, and we'll get a game plan to put together.
But our hats off and our gratitude, number one, to God as always, but to the staff at Banner Estrella. They were phenomenal. Very, very communicative with us. They put together a really good team, and
never felt like we weren't going to have answers.
No, they always had the answers. Might not have been right when I wanted them, but they followed through with their part, and they got me back. My kidney's back normal, and things are now. It's just a matter of
strengthening.
I mean, along with that, I had the hiccups for 24/7 for 9 days straight. So all of that, when I got home, just took a big toll on me.
Yeah, it did.
I'm still trying to catch up. So, but we're here.
Yep. So we're going to just share a little bit about that, and not necessarily about that experience, but just what we go through, what families go through when these happen.
Yeah, and believe me, since I got sober, this is about the 5th time I've been in the hospital with some serious conditions.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little
Okie
bit.
dokie. All right. So a diagnosis that changes the conversation changes the future. It changes how you see tomorrow.
Yeah.
And believe me, you look at things a whole different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A whole different way.
Yeah. So, whatever that diagnosis is, whether it could be a heart condition, maybe it was cancer, chronic illness, or something else entirely, those moments, they can shake the emotional foundation of a family.
Absolutely.
And I'll just say that, like you said, we've been through this several times since you've been sober in the last 20 years. This might sound a little crazy to some people, but I kind of engage. I step into a role, and we'll talk about some of those roles a little bit later. But I find it all very interesting. So I don't start out in that emotional breakdown. I start out like, let's go, let's figure this out.
Right.
But we'll talk about that emotional
shake-up
that happens.
She's very proactive. She does her own research. She asks a lot of questions of the doctors. And if the doctors don't give her the answer she's looking for, she questions it.
Yeah.
And, it's been a big benefit in the times we've been in the hospital because she's very on top of things. And matter of fact, the Dr. Dash over at Estrella Banner this time really appreciated the fact that Cathy was that much of an advocate.
She even called us at home, called me at home, because I missed her at the hospital that day. So it's great. So let's talk about that a little bit. What happens? What type of things are impacted?
So what we're going to talk about today, not just the medical side, right? That's one part, but the emotional, the relational, and spiritual impact, because those are the parts people rarely prepare for.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because Dr. Dash, the head doctor there, one day she came in and she looked at me and she says, "Randy, how are you doing spiritually?" And it was just
never had a doctor say that
at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's just something about mine and Cathy's energy when we get in the hospital room, no matter what, there's a calmness about us and a peace about us that attracts people.
Yeah.
And I say that humbly, and it's all because of God.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk a little bit, Randy, about the moment when everything does change.
Yeah, there's that one moment when the doctor speaks the words and everything seems to slow down.
Yeah.
You hear the diagnosis, but it doesn't immediately register. Your mind struggles to catch up to what your ears just heard. And that happened to me on this time. And too, when I first went to my doctor, I actually thought I had a valley fever because I was having trouble breathing. And I'd had valley fever a couple of years ago. And she says, "Randy, your heart's a little bit enlarged. It's something that we haven't seen on the x-rays over the last couple of years. So you better go see your cardiologist." So, okay, well, that's all right. We'll see what's going on. And, maybe there's fluid on the lung, whatever it is. But then when she came in after the EKG and says you have atrial flutter, I went, no, that ain't so good.
Right, yeah.
So it does. It slows down. And in my case, for those of you that know me, I'm very active. Pretty much 5-6 days a week, I'm doing some kind of workout. So this hit me, and also hit Cathy, hit us all out of left field, blindsided us. It's like, no, this can't be happening.
Yeah.
But like I said, when my cardiologist said that, hey, you got a flutter, but you're not going to die. It's not going to kill you. This is something we can definitely treat.
Right. Yeah.
And so that was a good part about that. And then we get in the hospital, and then
it's a whole different thing.
Not because of the heart, but because of the contracts.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of times people, when they hear those things, they go numb. There's a numb feeling that overcomes them. Others, fear happens. Fear is just an immediate response. But then there's others that go into the problem-solving mode. And then there's others that go silent. I am a problem-solving mode person when it comes to this stuff. It's like I hear it. Okay, what do we got to do to fix it? What do we got to do? What medicines? What can we do differently at home? But in all honesty, there are all these different avenues we go down. There's no right reaction. Shock is really a protective response.
Yeah, and I think like for me, this has been, like I say, fifth time of something where I had to go in the hospital like this, and it's just like, oh well, here we go again. And so I actually, there's been a lot of contemplation, a lot of silence, inside of myself. So, so what happens too is that our nervous system is trying to protect us from emotional overload.
That's so true.
My body's just used to it. I think my mind just automatically goes there, right?
Yeah.
It creates distance so you can absorb the reality gradually, right? Like we have to admit that we hear any kind of a diagnosis that has to do with heart or cancer. It's something that's like, wow,
It's very internal.
It's very internal.
Yeah.
Very internal, right?
Yeah.
But internally, questions begin immediately. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what does this mean, right? Are they going to be okay, or am I going to be care? Am I going to be okay, or are they going to be okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? What happens next? How will our lives change, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those are, as active as I am and the things I like to do, those are some questions that hit me hard. It's like, no. But the good news is that before the hospital, and again, the hospital was different, was the doctor said, keep working out, keep riding your bike, keep biking. You don't have to stop doing anything.
Nothing was stopped.
Right. Nothing had to stop. So,
well, and I think too, sometimes the hardest part is the uncertainty. We don't know what the future holds. Right. So we feel it can become more overwhelming than the diagnosis itself. And I'll talk about kind of some of that hit me. The day before you got out of the hospital, actually, it took me, 10 days to get to that place.
Right.
And then there's also this emotional impact on family members.
Right.
So, our son and daughter-in-law and 2 grandkids are here locally, but our daughter and son-in-law are not here locally. So it takes a toll no matter where they are.
Right.
And so when someone receives that unexpected diagnosis, it really does affect the entire family. And one thing that's really important, I think, to realize is each person processes it differently.
That's a really important point that we must understand.
Mm-hmm.
We're not all going to process it the same.
No, and that's okay. Some might become the caregivers immediately. That's me. I'm a caregiver. Some might withdraw emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Some try to stay strong for everyone else while they're silently crashing on the inside. And then some feel the fear, but they don't want to show it. So they have that stoic look about themselves. So, there's everybody's going to process differently, and that's okay.
That's okay.
It's okay. There's no right or wrong way.
I think the important part is the communication amongst the family when this does happen.
Yeah, definitely.
That we just keep everybody in the loop of what's going on.
Yeah, and we'll share a little bit about how we navigated that as well. So, but yeah, it's definitely everybody's going to process differently, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
All right. And one of the most common emotional responses is helplessness, right? I mean, not only like for me, it's like, well, I'm the only point of helplessness. I just got to trust in what the doctors are saying and trust my body, that I know my body.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Even for like Cathy, the helplessness, right? Sets in. You want to fix it. You want to protect them. You want to take it away from them, right? But the reality is you can't, right? It's just something that we have to go through as a family. And myself, I did a lot of processing and just knowing that, there's fear in it, and being okay and letting Cathy know that.
Yeah.
That, I'm scared this time.
Yeah.
So I was, right? And the lack of control can create anxiety. And man, I haven't had anxiety, I don't know how long.
Yeah.
But in the middle of the night, man, the anxiety was killing me.
Yeah.
It's like, because I couldn't control my breathing. I couldn't control that. So that anxiety really took over. And that lack of control also with the anxiety creates frustration and even anger. And there was one night, I will say, that I don't even think I told Cathy this, that I said, and I was yelling at God in my room. I'm surprised nobody came in to admit me into 5150, but I mean, I was angry. I was letting God know I was angry, and I was letting him know what the promises of the Bible said and why is this happening. And, but the one thing I've always said, if you can't get angry at God, then you can't be angry at anybody. Right. God's got big shoulders, so you have to let him know how you feel.
And I think too, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not a medical professional, but I think even your 9-day bout with hiccups, I think that is very much stress related, because we're starting to see, not that we want to see this pattern by any means, but the last time you were in the hospital, you had the hiccups for 6 days, I think, 6 or 7 days. So I do think that your body's response to the stress and the anxiety that you carry internally.
Responsible, very much so.
Yeah, and along with all of this, it can bring unresolved fears. They might just come to the surface, and it could be fears of loss. It could be fears of abandonment, that fear of being alone. Especially if you've had past trauma, or if you've had a loss in any part of your story. Whenever somebody that you're close to gets sick, and I'll just be honest right now, just came to me is I guess I didn't put myself in this position in the moment, but looking back at it, I can certainly see that, is that my mom died of heart attacks. She had several of them before the last one took her, and that was in 1999, March of 1999. But I don't think I was in that moment with you.
No.
It's looking back at it, realizing, oh crap, this is exactly what my dad went through with my mom. Hers was a little more in depth because she was specifically having heart attacks, but that loss, that's the loss, that's the part that hit me. I think I hit my wall at about day 10. And I finally called our daughter and said, I know he's better, but I can't anymore. All the thoughts, and we're going to talk about that later. But yeah, I think that, if you've had any type of past trauma, loss, or medical with other family members or close friends, it's going to bring up that past.
Well, no, it absolutely does. And I think what it brings up is a lot of abandonment. And like I say, that one night I was up yelling at God in my room. It's like I felt abandoned. I knew Cathy hadn't abandoned me. My family was not going to abandon me. They were there. Cathy has never in any instance of all these hospital stays, even as far back as 2007 when I was in a coma for 2 weeks, Cathy was always by my side every day. Every day she was at the hospital with me, right? So my family abandoning me was not at all a question, right? But I did feel abandoned by God, right? And which is, that's okay. I mean, look, I know God is real. I know He's there. He saved my life countless times. There's no doubt about that. But it doesn't mean I still can't be angry, can't have doubt, right? And feel abandoned. I mean, a big part of my life was the trauma in my life, right? There's trauma in my life, and there was a lot of rejection and abandonment there. So it has subtle ways of bringing stuff up from the past, right? So all this is important to understand because emotional reactions to diagnosis are not just about the present moment, right? They're not. They often are connected to past experiences and emotional wounds, like I just talked about, right? I mean, in some way, shape, or form, I have learned through my recovery that, it's tied into it, but I don't go there and sit in that quagmire of garbage from my past, right? No. I don't do that. So,
but they will sneak in.
They'll
very
sneak
subtle.
in, believe me.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's talk a little bit around, because this is really more on your side of things, is the emotional impact on the person that receives a diagnosis. Right. This is where you have had different things come up in all these medical things that you've dealt with.
Right. So for the person receiving the diagnosis, right, in my experience, we'll talk from my experience, the emotional impact can even be more complex. They may experience fear, vulnerability, and grief, and even guilt. Right? Guilt for becoming a burden. I mean, I can't how many times I've told Cathy, I'm sorry you're going through this again, right? Guilt for needing help, same thing. Guilt for disrupting family life. And all those kind of things kind of come up. But we're at a place where I can, like I say, Cathy, I'm sorry that putting you through this again. And I have to say it I have to say it for myself, right? To let her know that this has really upset me this time, because how many more times are you going to do this, right?
Well, and I think in this particular case too, I mean, in past you've had open wounds, you've had hip replacements, you've had a motorcycle accident where you had a broken bone,
gone septic.
You've gone septic, and there's been wounds involved. This is an internal condition.
Yes.
It's not something you see on the outside. Exactly. It's not an external thing. It's not a broken bone that went side. And I think cancer is the same way. Cancer it's an internal situation, and so it's a lot different than having an open wound.
Yeah, because in fact, all the doctors, and people that come in, you look great. You look like there's nothing wrong with you. I mean, every one of them said that to me.
Yeah.
Right. So, on the outside, I look great, and I think that is a big part in the way I took care of myself. But
it also adds to the guilt that you feel for being in a hospital bed for 11 days, not feeling well.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So,
and the other things that come up too with this is that, there may be a loss of identity. I'm the man of the house. I'm supposed to be strong, I'm supposed to be taking care of my family, and here I am sitting in a bed. I'm sure that you've experienced some of that, especially if you're the strong one. And that's, you definitely are the strong one. Or maybe it's the caregiver, the provider. I mean, though that has got to be really hard. You lose your identity. As a caregiver, even when this is going to sound silly, but when I don't feel good and I say, I'm just going to go lay down, I don't feel good, or I want to take a nap, I don't feel good, I feel guilty because I'm not out there doing the things that I do well. Right. And so I get that. And that's just for being, not feeling well, but having a major medical diagnosis is a whole nother level of that, and so suddenly, now you're the one needing care. You're the one that the provider, the one that's healthy. I'm sure I have said this, you probably thought it, but heart condition, heart failure, things of that runs in my side of the family. Yeah. So, this might have been, oh, okay, well, this goes with territory. This is her side of the family, but it was a complete shock for you. So, right. That shift in how we feel can be very unsettling within us, can be deeply unsettling as a matter of fact.
So, and often you got to remember that people don't talk about these feelings.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Especially men. They want to be stoic, right? I mean, I got to be strong for the family, even though they're sitting in a bad situation. Mm-hmm. They protect their family emotionally by hiding their own fears,
yep.
right? Which can lead to emotional isolation. And I've always said this, and I'm going to say it right here, is that I've said it in front of thousands of people, that it takes only a weak person hides their weaknesses, mm-hmm. but it takes a truly strong and courageous person to talk about those. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the communication that Cathy and I work with our couples, is that you have to be able to express these feelings to your partner.
Yeah.
It's a must, right? Yeah. And our spouse or partner must be able to listen and learn how to respond in a healthy manner.
True.
Right? And sometimes it's just a matter of saying, I understand.
Yeah. And that kind of leads into this next little segment we want to talk about, and that's how a diagnosis can strengthen or strain
right.
or strain a relationship. Mm. So sometimes these unexpected diagnoses, they either strain the relationship or they strengthen the relationship. They expose emotional fractures that might already exist, but now all of a sudden they're coming out the cracks. There are some families that they'll grow closer mm-hmm. together, they communicate more, and they support each other deeply. And then we have others that might struggle. Miscommunication increases because emotional distance grows. Fear creates tension. Some are isolating. Some don't want to know. They don't want to hear it because when we talk about it, it brings truth and reality to it. And I'll be honest with you, I am a talker. I got my daughter trained pretty well as well, but I communicated to her. She communicated to her brother. And then every night on my ride home from the hospital for those 10 days that I was going home by myself, I would be talking to my daughter throughout the day, but I always called her first, and then I called my son, and I'd fill both of them in. And then our daughter, how I've trained her well, she is the one that is the social person she's not really a social person until she gets to know you, but she is the one that communicates out to the family members and friends that need to know.
Right.
So we have found that to work well for us, is to make sure that when our immediate family knows, and then we let friends outside of our family know. And every day was an update. And so I think that was important, because when you have people that truly, genuinely care for you and are praying for you, they want to know. They want to know that their prayers are being answered. They want to know how they can help.
And the one thing when it comes to that, oftentimes, hey, I need you to pray for my mother. She's in the hospital. Okay, but what's going on?
Right.
Give us a brief. And that's the one thing that we've learned is, like,
we communicate.
We're specific about what's going on. Not overly specific, but specific enough to where it's like, this is what's happening, right? And, people, what we found, if you're a God-believing person, or even if you're not, you might want to think about it, is that communication spreads out through the community of people. And the amount of prayers that you're receiving on a daily basis is over. You have no idea.
No.
It could be hundreds of prayers.
Yeah, and if you're specific with those, like, I'm just going off the top of my head, I think one day it was Alyssa put out there to be specific. Specific prayer needs is pray for kidney function to rebound, pray for the heart to be strong, Pray for the mind to be clear. Those are
Right.
just like
That
simple things.
simple things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just that's it. You don't have to go into the detail.
No.
I was
No.
pretty, So we got to remember also the stress levels. Stress reveals emotional patterns, right?
Yeah.
If a family has learned to avoid difficult conversations, that pattern often continues.
Yep.
And if a family has learned emotional safety and openness, those strengths will emerge as well, right?
Yeah.
And this is why emotional safety within relationship is so important. Our prayer is this too, when we work, how we work with our clients, is that we want our clients to develop these when they're working on a relationship, so that in a time of crisis, they don't feel like they can't say nothing.
No, you got to create emotional safety.
Yeah, you can't wait for it. Sometimes it's what it takes is a crisis, but you don't want to wait for a crisis like this to all of a sudden, hey, what's going on? We need to get together as a family.
Yeah.
Right?
No, emotional safety is a healthy response to every situation when you have emotional safety. So,
right.
We got to remember too, the goal is never perfection.
No.
We're never going to get there. God's the only perfect one. But the goal is about being present and, being emotionally present with someone, with each other. Even if you don't have all the answers, that's okay. But be present. Be present in that moment. There's so much that can be beneficial when we're present.
Yeah, being mindful of that. Cathy and I talked about mindfulness a lot, right? I mean, and so it's just like being mindful of what's going on in the moment, right? Being present, like Cathy when she comes to the hospital, we do a little, but she's just her presence alone, right, brings me peace.
Yeah,
we don't have to sit there and talk all day long.
Not at all.
We've been married for 42 years. We've said enough to each other.
Sometimes we have nothing to say, and that's okay.
But and then you have, when you have the right friends come by, that's another thing too. You want to make sure that the friends that you have in your life are ones that are there to kind of support you even in these rough times,
in these difficult times,
and that their energy when they show up to visit you is a very calm and peaceful energy,
positive energy that's going to help.
It has to be
heal.
Because I had a situation in 2007 where somebody was bringing a very, very negative energy in my room. I said, I can't have them here anymore.
Yeah. So, that's a great lead in too, because what helps families navigate in this season?
Very interesting. There's several things that help families navigate, right?
Yeah.
Unexpected diagnosis in a healthy way.
Yeah.
First, we have to allow space for emotions.
Yeah.
And that means if somebody's crying, don't say, "Come on, the crying's not going to help. Don't get over it. Just move on."
Allow for that.
We have to allow these emotions to come out in a healthy manner, right? Sometimes that's all people need, right? Fear, sadness, and confusion will set in, right? And we have to be allowed to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because if we're not allowed to talk about those things, then we're dwelling in them ourselves, right? And that again, it's like, who are you talking to about this stuff, right? I'm fearful, I'm sad, I'm confused. Yeah, I understand why you're confused, and it's okay that you feel all these things.
Even when you were going through your moments of anger, it's like, okay. And I get uncomfortable when you get angry. That's a trigger. That's something within me. But I also honor where you are in that moment. And I want to encourage you through that.
Yeah, because they're all they are. These are normal emotions that come up, right?
Yeah.
And suppressing these emotions doesn't eliminate them. Matter of fact, it makes it worse, right?
Yeah.
Because number one, it's going to isolate you.
Yeah.
And then in that isolation, because you don't feel like you can talk about things, you're going to start developing a lot of resentment.
Yeah, and then internally you're processing it.
It becomes a mess, right?
Yeah. So the other thing, the second thing you can do is, we talk about this is our number one thing, is communicate openly. You don't have to have all the right words. Just be honest. You can say things that might sound like, I'm scared, or I'm scared for you, or, I don't know what to say. That's okay. I'm here for you. What you want to do is you want to create connection. So these words will help create connection just by speaking them. It takes the power out of your thought, and it allows for connection. Yeah,
and it's like, say, I don't know what to say, so it's just, hey, I'm here for you, man.
Yeah.
Whatever I can do to help you, just let me know. I have no magic words for you, right?
And I'll be honest with you, in this last hospital stay with you, I had so many people reaching out saying, what can I do to help? Just knowing that somebody is willing to help me was powerful.
All right.
you know. And we'll talk about this in a little bit here about how people did help, and
Right.
it makes a difference just knowing somebody's going to be there.
All right.
Yeah.
The third thing is we want to stay present.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Just stay in the moment, because right now, in the moment, no matter what the diagnosis is, everything's good.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the diagnosis might be bad or whatever, if we can stay in the moment, stay present in the moment, and enjoy the moment, and bring as much peace as we can in that moment to the person that's been diagnosed and to all the family members, it's going to help a lot, right? Because the mind naturally wants to jump into the future.
Yeah.
Right? Worst case scenarios, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about this? Is he going to die by? Well, maybe he is, maybe he's not. We're going to all die sometime.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? We go into fear-based thinking.
Yeah.
Right? But healing happens in the present moment,
Mm-hmm.
and focus on today.
Yeah.
Right?
Can't do anything for tomorrow.
No, absolutely not. And it's just like when my kidney was getting better, it was like maybe 2% better one day, right? And then maybe 5% better the next day. Right? Every day was getting better and better and better, because I had a lot of the energy amongst the staff at the hospital and in our family was nothing but positive energy.
Right. And it allowed you to stay present.
Right.
Yeah,
me to stay present and not worry about the future. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So.
And then the fourth one, this is where I struggled a little bit, is to accept help. Many people struggle with receiving support. I, for one, was one of those. But allowing others to help strengthens the emotional connection, because I realized I didn't have to carry this alone. And how this came out is we had one of our clients set up a meal train. And I went to my circle and I'm like, I'm having a hard time accepting this. And I just needed to say that I had a hard time accepting it. They encouraged me and they softened. Not that my heart was hardened, it was just, I had a really difficult time accepting help.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm grateful for that, because we have had a few meals brought to us. It allowed us, especially last week, that first week being at home, was just, we did nothing. It was literally, thank God the Olympics were on, because we literally sat with blankets and pillows on the couch together, just being present with each other. But knowing that somebody was going to bring us a warm meal, or somebody was going to financially support groceries for that week, it brought peace within me. And then, you know what it does for me? I want to do that for somebody else. I know that feeling of receiving help, and it just I'm a giver by nature. But when you receive like that, I don't know for anybody else, it built me up to want to help others.
Well, yeah, it's what we're called to do.
I know, but it just...
I know you and I have a strong calling for that, and our hearts are...
And I do that naturally, but I've not had to receive like that. And so it was just like, okay, now it feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good. So, and as we kind of wrap this up and get towards the end of this discussion today, there is opportunity for emotional and spiritual growth when you're in these seasons, for sure.
There's absolute time for, it's a valuable time for spiritual growth, both for myself and for the family. Like, for instance, yesterday we had a baby shower for one of our clients, right? And I was just sitting there. And I don't know, I felt like I had a smile on my face all day long. I wasn't saying a lot. It's because, look, these are our clients. These are people that were broken, that they were in this world by themselves, right? And here we are.
We didn't host it. That was the one thing that was nice. We didn't host
this at all. This was hosted by Cathy, who can actually help. But here we are, and there's people there that a lot of people didn't know each other. There's new people there, but it was one big happy family. It was like, look at this. Look what. Again, all glory goes to God, but look what Cathy and I helped create within this family that we have of friends and spiritual people.
Those were the people supporting and praying and helping out with meals to us.
Exactly, but it was just so, and when we have life groups, the kids are there. Bring your kids; they're part of the family, and it's a blessing to watch these kids, all different ages. They get along phenomenally with each other. I mean, if there's younger kids there, the older kids will always watch after the younger kids, and it's just amazing to watch how they interact and get along so well.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's good.
And those are all gifts that
That's all part of the emotional and spiritual growth.
Exactly.
And when you have instances of a diagnosis, there's a lot of things that get revealed.
Right. No, look at, well, no one would choose these moments. Believe me, I don't choose them at all. I'm sick of them, right?
Yeah.
They often reveal what matters most, and that is they slow life down, right? They shift perspective, and they deepen appreciation. And
I think that's what you were talking about, the appreciation of having clients and seeing where they've come.
Yeah. Right. And we were just there being part of it, not leading it or anything. And it's something that in 2007, when I was in the coma for 2 weeks, I thought a lot changed in me then, right? Spiritually, and it did.
It did.
But I got home and I told Cathy this time, this is different. Something about this one is completely different. And I don't know if it's because something to do with the heart, although the heart wasn't the thing giving me the problem, but something about this round hit me differently, right? And I can't say what it is. I mean, life is precious and it can be gone at the blink of an eye, right?
Yeah.
So.
I think these moments, these emotional and spiritual moments, they remind us the importance of love. The love, connection, and being present. They remind us that, relationships are the most valuable part of our lives. And I think that was, when you get to a place where, in your condition, it was an internal medical issue, you start looking at the relationships differently. You start looking at the people in your life differently, and you start wanting to show up differently as a result of that.
When we talk about relationships, I mean, I have to look at the staff in the hospital, the relationships that we developed with each one of the staff members that were taking care of me was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean,
different walks of life and nationalities and cultures, and it was just beautiful.
Yeah, and it's all because they're doing the job the best they can. And I used to tell them when the nurse would come in, or doctor, my job is to make your job really easy today and have fun. And that's literally how I felt in the hospital. I wanted to make sure that when they walked in my room, right, that they knew there was a place of peace that they could come and just relax. Right?
And you did that, despite not feeling well.
I think it wasn't about me at that point, right? And so it's like, do unto others as they have you do unto you. It's real simple.
Yeah, so, definitely. That's beautiful.
So we have to remember also, even in the uncertainty, healing is still possible.
Yeah.
Right? It is. Not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. And I think the way that works is like, you have to, it comes down to complete 100% surrender. At that moment, it's like, there's nothing I can do. All this is out of my control. It's God's control, and it's the hospital staff control. They're going to do everything they can. They're monitoring me really good. And so instead of fighting everything, and believe me, I had a couple of
some fighters.
I saw some fighters with a couple of roommates, and it was like, you guys are getting me. And fortunately, I got away from those people.
But your last several days were solo rooms.
We have solo rooms. So, it's just, you have to surrender to the fact that I'm here, I don't like it, but you know what?
Don't fight it.
Don't fight it, because the more I fight it, the more it's going to fight me.
Yeah, that's so true. That's true. So we hope you took something away from this. And just as a reminder, if you or someone that you love is walking through something unexpected, an unexpected diagnosis, we want to know that you're not alone. We've been there. Reach out to us. Yeah. We can walk you through that.
No, you're not alone at all. So you got to remember that.
Yeah.
So these moments, they can feel overwhelming.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Especially for, not so much for me, but like for Cathy, it's like she finally hit that wall, and it can be overwhelming for our spouses watching us in the hospital. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
Right. But they can also become moments of really good connection and strength and healing. Yeah. Right. I mean, it's funny because when we think about healing in a hospital, we think about healing our physical body, but there's so much more to healing. That's just one aspect of it.
It's emotional and spiritual healing.
And that's the emotional and spiritual healing is going to enhance your physical healing.
Yeah, definitely. So, just as a reminder, when you're in these situations, is you got to be patient with yourself. You got to be patient with each other. There was a few moments, I don't even know if you remember, because I think you were pretty sick. You were, they had to call a rapid response to your room twice. I think it was on a Friday. And you kept talking over the doctor, and I looked at you from across the room, and I just did one of those across the neck, like, shh, stop. So I wasn't very patient that day, but I also was wanting to be able to hear, and I wanted you to hear what they had to say. So I got a little rough in my way of communicating.
I accepted the communication perfectly.
And I think a lot of that probably was fear and unknown, that you were just kind of over talking at that point. But healing is not just always about the outcomes. It's about walking together through the process.
Right.
And I think we do a pretty good job of doing that. I think we've got it down. I think we figured it out with all these hospital visits and medical issues. I always wanted to be a nurse. My grandma was a nurse for the veterans, the VA, and when I was a little girl, and I always thought I wanted to be a nurse, but I didn't know I'd be married to a husband where I'd have to learn to be a nurse, not go to school to be one, but just be self-taught. So here I am, Nurse Cathy.
Yes, ma'am. So say, hey, this episode has resonated with you. Please share it with someone who might need encouragement today.
Yeah, no, definitely. And remember that, healing and restoration, it's always possible. We're living proof that healing and restoration is possible.
In more ways than one.
Yeah.
All right. So look, as we close out this episode, we want to remind you that Healing Restore Counseling is here to walk alongside you throughout every season of your healing journey. If you're struggling in your relationships or carrying unresolved hurt from your past, please know this: you're not alone.
Nope.
And I want to tell you this: you cannot travel the road by yourself.
No.
It will end in disaster, catastrophic disaster. Okay. At Healing Restore Counseling, we offer a no-cost 1-hour discovery session for both individuals and couples. This session provides a safe, supportive space to share what you're navigating and to gain clarity and begin identifying meaningful goals for healing and growth. It's a simple first step, taken at your pace with compassion and care. So don't lose hope. Healing is possible, and it can begin today. To schedule your discovery session, just simply visit www.healingrestorecounseling.com and fill out the contact form. And when we get those contact forms, we will
usually within 24 hours
or less. Usually within
is less.
Right.
I'll reach out to you and give you some days and times that we can schedule that, and we have found that most successful. So it's beautiful.
Exactly.
So, well, honey, you did it. You made it through a recording here.
Yeah, I'm not too tired.
Oh, good.
I tired myself on my walk today. So
that means you're feeling better then.
One day at a time.
Yep, that's it.
One day at a time. When you go from being super rock and doing all sorts of stuff that's like flat on your back, it's like, now what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I've been through it before, so I know I can get it all back.
And I think that was key. We've seen this. We've been there before. We've been in this space, and you've come back. Yes, is it a hassle? Yes, is it discouraging? But it's possible.
Well, it's better than the alternative.
That's true.
All
that
right.
is true. That's good.
All right. So remember, nobody tells you they love you today. Randy does.
Cathy does.
But more importantly, God does. Be blessed, everybody, and have a fabulous week.
Have a great week.